Do you see anyone else in the home?
My son is here. He has Down syndrome. You know, we've asked people to watch our frickin' area. We've had people attempt to break in just this week.
Sir,
I don't know what's going on in this city,
Sir,
but this is getting done here.
I understand you're upset, but can you give me your name, please?
No, you
Sir,
people dropped the...
Sir, can you just take a deep breath? Is there any...
This whole city's getting freaking taken over.
Sir, I understand you're upset, but I need you to stay focused, okay? You don't think you can perform CPR, correct?
She's in the kitchen. I can't believe this.
Melinda Pleskovic is a 49-year-old mother of 3 to Anna, Megan and son Kyle, who has Down syndrome and is loved and cared for by all the family. She and husband Bruce have a happy home in Strongsville, Ohio. Mel has been a teacher in the local Strongsville Middle School for over 27 years and watched most of the town grow up. She also coaches many of the local soccer teams and is loved by all her students, who say of her, she's an inspiration, an awesome teacher, friend, mentor, and gives with no expectation of anything in return, who also happens to have the most contagious laugh. On Mel's 49th birthday, her daughter, Anna, and boyfriend, Jeff, announced that they are pregnant. And after this initial shock, the family are over the moon with the news. Jeff is invited to live in their home as he and Anna want to get married and buy a house of their own. They set up home in the basement. The invite is rent-free. This should go a long way in helping the pair move forward. In June of 2017, baby Aurora is born, and a date is set for the wedding, the 28th of October of the same year. Mel, being so excited at such great news, would pay and organise most of the wedding to help. All Jeff had to do was pay for the venue and send out his own invitations. Strangely, around the time Jeff moves in, things had started to take a bit of a sinister turn in and around the Pleskovics' home. Things seemed to be going missing, like laptops, keys, cash, a chequebook, even Mel's car keys disappear. Security cameras are smashed. At the same time, Jeff witnesses strangers attempting to access the house. On another occasion, he saw 3 masked men loitering outside but managed to scare them away. Bruce finds nails embedded in his car tyres, and Mel's car alarm is set off at all hours. One night, after hearing something outside, Anna drew back the curtain to find a hooded figure right up against the window. Police are called many times over this period, but with no evidence or even any leads, there's nothing much they can do. Mel would post on Facebook about the goings-on, but it seemed they were the only family in the neighbourhood being targeted. It would later transpire that Jeff was no longer getting along with Mel or Bruce. He would be described as always burning bridges with friends and family and would often speak inappropriately. When first meeting Anna's aunts, he explained to them how he picked girls up at college. He would send text messages to Bruce about jacking off. Once, he vindictively told Bruce that his father hated Mel but gives no reason as to why. Mel tried many times to reach out to Jeff's parents, inviting them to their house for dinner or out to a restaurant through Jeff, but they would always cancel or decline altogether. When he last bickered with Mel, he sent her a barrage of berating messages about her teaching skills. After this, the couple thought enough was enough, and Bruce and Mel decided to avoid Jeff as much as possible from then on. On the 22nd of October, Mel would receive a call from the venue Anna and Jeff had chosen for the wedding, saying that Jeff's card had been declined 14 times. If the balance of $6,500 wasn't paid by the next day, the venue would be cancelled. Mel calls Jeff to ask what's going on, but Jeff has mysteriously been in a car accident this day and is currently in the hospital with minor injuries. Mel pays the full $6,500 to keep the venue. As a thank you and an apology for the venue, Jeff wants to take Mel and the family out to dinner and arranges that they all meet the following night on the 23rd of October at Applebee's, a local bar and grill and where Anna works as a waitress. She would serve the family, Megan would still be doing things at school, but Jeff, the baby, Mel, Bruce and Kyle could all eat together. At 4:30 p.m. on this day, Bruce receives a text from Mel that reads, "Meet me at the Brew Kettle at 4:30, a local bar the family often frequent." He finds this text weird as it's very blunt and not at all the way Mel would usually text, plus she knows he finishes work bang on 4:30. Dismissing his thoughts, he goes straight after work, but Mel doesn't turn up. He'll text her with no response, so text again to say he was going to the gym for a while. Anna calls her dad and Jeff repeatedly calls to tell him to meet them at Applebee's. He gets to Applebee's just after 7 p.m. Jeff and the baby are there, but no Mel, no Kyle. He asks Jeff if he's heard from Mel. He will tell him her phone is switched off, that he's locked out of the house, and that the garage code isn't working. Bruce stays and eats his meal in case Mel turns up, but wants to get home. Obviously, something is not right. But when they leave, outside in the car lot, Jeff wants to fill his truck with petrol from a 5-gallon can he's brought with him. Bruce stands and minds the baby as Jeff proceeds to fill his tank. When they finally get to the house, Mel's car is in the drive and the house has lights on. Kyle, usually excited to see everyone, answers the door solemnly. They find Mel face down in the kitchen in a pool of blood. Jeff calls the emergency services first. Bruce will call immediately afterwards.
You came home and found her injured on the floor?
We found her in the kitchen. She's not moving. I took the kids and I walked outside. She has blood all around her. I didn't look.
How do you know this woman?
I live here. She's my fiance's mother.
I think someone killed my wife.
You think someone killed your wife?
Yeah, it looks like she has stab wounds on her back. There's a pool of blood.
See if she's breathing?
No, she is not.
Do you see anyone else in the home?
My son is here. He has Down syndrome. You know, we've asked people to watch our frickin' area. We've had people attempt to break in just this week.
Sir,
I don't know what's going on in this city,
Sir,
but this is getting done here.
I understand you're upset, but can you give me your name, please?
No, you
Sir,
people dropped them.
sir, can you just take a deep breath? Is there any...
This whole city's getting freaking taken over.
Sir, I understand you're upset, but I need you to stay focused, okay? You don't think you can perform CPR, correct?
She's in the
Go.
kitchen. I can't believe this.
The autopsy will show Mel has been stabbed over 35 times and has been shot 3 times in the back. The family are convinced this is tied to all the strange happenings over the past year around the house. On the 28th of October, the same day Jeff and Anna were meant to get married, Melinda Pleskovic is laid to rest, leaving her family, friends, indeed the whole neighbourhood devastated. Police are zeroing in on one person whose story has not checked out. Jeff has said that he goes to his aunt's at 4:30 p.m. to rake leaves from the garden. Truth is, his aunt says he didn't get there until 6 p.m. Police also find a knife hidden in his pickup truck and blood inside the truck on the passenger door. The knife has his DNA on the handle and Mel's blood on the blade. They also uncover his tracksuit bottoms covered in blood at the house. 3 days after Mel's funeral, 20-year-old Jeff is arrested and brought in for questioning for a third time. He is given a polygraph test, which he fails.
You were late. You texted your aunt, just if this jogs your memory, you texted your aunt at 5 o'clock, you hadn't left yet. So you couldn't have left at 3 o'clock if you're telling me. Or shortly after 3. Because you're in a room already. Okay. I texted you something that was normal. That's the beauty of technology and phones and surveillance cameras, because it doesn't lie. So I don't expect you to remember things in a minute. But the phones, the camera, I don't need to ask. It tells me exactly the timestamp. So you're not even at your aunt's house before 5. She says you don't even get her until 6. And by the time you left, you don't even have time to go back home. Went back to Applebee's. Jeff, do you know where I'm going with this? I do, but where am I going with this? You probably did say that I did it, right?
And after 6 long hours, he confesses. He says that Mel found his gun in the basement, as well as a paternity test for the baby, as he thought Anna had been cheating on him. The pair then began arguing. Mel takes the gun up to the kitchen, while Jeff follows. As they argue, the gun, in Mel's hands, keeps pointing in Jeff's direction. Fearing for his life, he takes it from her, but that it fires 3 times in the scuffle, hitting Mel. He doesn't remember stabbing Mel at all. Kyle is in the house the entire time and is left there while Jeff goes out to dinner with his dad, Bruce.
Reached up and just kind of snatched it from her. She wasn't holding it. I grabbed it when I was pulling it away from her and kind of just went off. And after that, that's where it was like, I don't really exactly understand what happened. Everything's all like blurry. I don't know. It's kind of just like I lost control, I think.
Meanwhile, back here on Earth, it is uncovered that Jeff's parents had never known of any invites from the Pleskovics, and his father had never said he had any dislike for Mel. Kyle still looks for his mother and was even looking for her at her funeral. He doesn't understand what's happened.
My name is Melinda Pleskovic. This is kind of addressed to you. My point is, Jeffrey Scullen should never be allowed to walk free again. The extent of his monstrous actions has forever crippled the lives of everyone who knows. My mother, Melinda, will never be coming back, and that egotistical boy has absolutely no reason or right to rip her away from us. I say boy and not man, because a man doesn't harm his loved ones. A man owns his actions and decisions without hiding behind lies. A man supports his family and would do anything for his children. Jeff has done none of these things. Because of his heinous crimes, my brother lost the best mother a child with Down syndrome could possibly have. My father lost his best friend and soulmate. My sister and I no longer have our smart, beautiful, and respectable role model mother to guide us. And my daughter, Aurora, lost her cherished Grammy. The worst part is that someday I will have to sit her down and explain this horrifying nightmare to her. I'll have to find a reason as to why her father chose incarceration and lies instead of his baby girl. And to be honest, I have no idea where to even begin. Jeffrey needs to never have the option to inflict this pain on another human being again, because he most definitely will kill again. He is a manipulator, a pathological liar, a thief, a sociopath, and above all, a sadistic murderer. He shows no remorse and deserves to spend his days away from the innocent. Sincerely, myself, Melinda's daughter, and his ex-fiance.
The victim, Melinda Pleskovic, just 49 years old, was savagely murdered by you, Mr. Scullen, in the kitchen of her home, which she had generously made your home. You shot her 3 times and stabbed her a minimum of 35 times. You did so while her son, Kyle, who has Down syndrome, must have been or was in the home. You did so with your own daughter and her granddaughter, Aurora, close by. Then you had the audacity to sit down for dinner with her husband, Bruce, at Applebee's, where their daughter, Anna, worked. Then you returned to the scene of your vicious crime and allowed Bruce to go into the home that he shared with his wife and children and find his wife on the kitchen floor in a pool of blood. You served as a pallbearer at Melinda Pleskovic's funeral, knowing that you were the person responsible for inflicting upon her loved ones and many friends all of the pain, shock, sorrow, and heartache they were experiencing and continue to experience a year after you murdered her. I did receive 51 victim impact statements, to include those from her husband, her 2 daughters, sister, brother, nephew, colleagues, friends, soccer friends, and students' parents. I read each and every one of those letters, and the words used to describe Mel include, and I've taken these directly from those letters: awesome teacher, amazing friend, the rock that held her family together. There is no more serious offense than what you committed upon what has only been described as a wonderful wife, mother, friend, colleague. For legal reasons, you pled no contest. Of course, that's hurt the family because there's no true acknowledgement or remorse that you've displayed at this point in time. But again, I understand that you have legal rights and are reserving those rights. So I cannot, by law, technically hold that against you at this juncture. But again, based upon the letters that I've read, you've not shown any remorse to anyone throughout this process. And again, as explained to me in those letters, Mel's family and friends who had the opportunity to speak with you and watch you in the days following her murder, to include at her funeral, find your actions and attitude after you murdered her to be incomprehensible and abhorrent. And what I think so tragic is that Mel's son Kyle does not understand where she is and continues to look for his mom every day. That is so sad. And you did that. Therefore, on the aggravated murder count 1 that you pled guilty to, the court imposes a sentence of life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 30 years. The 3-year firearm specification, or the 3 years for that firearm specification, must be served prior to and consecutive to that term, meaning that you have served 33 years. With regard to count 5, tampering with evidence, that's the felony of the 3rd degree. The court is imposing a prison term of 36 months on that count. With regard to count 6, making false alarms, the misdemeanor of the 1st degree, the court is imposing a period of local incarceration of 180 days. And with regard to count 7, endangering children, again a misdemeanor of the 1st degree, the court's imposing a period of local incarceration of 180 days.
Weeks after Mel's death, Strongville's women's varsity team create a soccer tournament on Kelly's Island in Mel's name, called the Mel Cup. And there is also a movement on social media for random acts of kindness in memory of Mel with the hashtag #It'sOnMel.